Today's interview is with Tim Kelly. Tim has been active duty with the military for over 15 years now, but he started investing in real estate 5 years ago and has grown quite a big portfolio. He started out buying a primary residence for himself and a fourplex, and then bought a 42 unit. And we dive into that deal and how he was able to make that happen so quickly, along with a lot of mindset stuff and a lot of really, really good information that he shares along the way. You know, we talk about capital raising, we talk about investing in multifamily, we talk about his active duty group that he set up. Just so many good stuff in this interview. So stick around for all of that. Here we go. Hello and welcome to Wrestling with Real Estate, where we look to chokeslam all your real estate problems. I'm your host, former WWE wrestler and now Cirque du Soleil performer, and of course, multifamily real estate investor, Barri Griffiths. Now today we're joined by Tim Kelly. What's up, Tim?
What's up, man? Super excited to be here. This is one of the most unique podcasts I've been on. Been on dozens and dozens over the last few years, and I was super excited to dive in and talk about this, man. And I can't wait for those questions. Let's do this.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it, man. I love your energy as well. Most people say, "Oh, I've got energy," but man, I got someone to match me today, so I love it. I love it. This is going to be awesome. Well,
yeah.
Hey, let's dive into the conversation, right? Let's not waste any time because it's going to be a good one. Can you sort of introduce yourself to start off with and give people an idea about you?
Yeah, man, absolutely. My name's Tim Kelly. Right now I reside in Pensacola, Florida, right on the beach. I absolutely love it. I was brought here because I was in the United States Navy for 15 years, and this was my last duty station. I had just separated a few months ago because of real estate, because I had, my 10 years in, in the military, I had some epiphanies and realized that I was able to own and control lots of real estate, and that could set me up for financial freedom. So I just went and did it while I was active duty. And, was able to close over 1,000 doors while I was still active duty, mobile home parks, apartment communities. And halfway through that, I was able to help build this massive community of military members online called Active Duty Passive Income, where we are inspiring and educating and mentoring and coaching them on how to build generational wealth while they're in the military or after they get out, so they could set themselves up. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. We're still buying assets. We're still buying apartment communities, mobile home communities, storage facilities, and we're showing our community that how not only that it could be done, we're showing them how it's done. Best-selling book, podcast with a lot of high-level people, have it, courses and academies and masterminds and financial services like a mortgage company, insurance brokerage. So this is stuff I'm super passionate about, and it's life-changing. So it fires me up that there's other military members that are seeing the light and that know that they could do it, and they're taking action and they're following what we're telling them to do, and they're taking down huge deals from the other side of the world, say while they're on deployment. It's crazy.
That's awesome. Yeah, man, that's so cool that you guys are doing that, because like you said, it's somewhat similar to athletes and that, right? They you're an athlete and you do that. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to compare the two. I'm just saying in terms of when you get out, a lot of times athletes, a lot of times like the military, right? What do you do with your life, right? You identify as doing something. You have an understanding of what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to do it. And then that comes to an end. And then you're just out in the world and you're like, what do I do from here? Where do I go? So I love that you're able to sort of educate some people, because I think the challenge a lot of times is actually knowing that it exists, right? It's not actually doing it sometimes to a lot of people. Just so many people don't understand what's available and the possibilities with real estate. So I love that you guys are doing that, because I've also found that a lot of the military people, right, they have discipline, they have work ethic, right? And that so many of their skills translate well into real estate investing. And when they get to real estate investing, it's like, boom, they're on fire, man. And they just take off.
I mean, I've said that the last two sentences you said, how what we learn and what's embedded into our DNA in the military translates very well in real estate and business. I've said that hundreds of times, because it's so true. And that's why we love working. And that's why we built this military community, because they're very coachable. They're humble. They work hard. They're clear on their vision and their targets, like their leadership skills, teamwork, grit, resiliency, all these things that literally just are embedded into our DNA. The longer you're in, the more deep they are penetrated into your DNA. And like, if you have a target when you get out, or you set yourself up with these goals and can just carry on those characteristics, I mean, sky's the limit in business and real estate, man, for military members.
I love that. I love that. That's really cool. How do you, like I said, it's not out there everywhere, and real estate investing isn't sort of mainstream per se, right? How did you find out about real estate investing?
Yeah, so back in 2011, I used one of the most tremendous benefits that the military has, the VA loan. 0% down loan. You can get into a home for 0% down. Not only that, you can get into a 4-unit property, live in 1 unit, and house hack, right? For 0% down. And you could even wrap the cost of rehab into a VA loan for even 0% down, depending on the closing costs and all that stuff. So I knew the VA loan was a thing. I knew I wanted to be a homeowner. I went through that process. And I'm like, this is pretty interesting. I enjoyed searching for properties. I enjoyed negotiating, enjoyed closing the deal, owning my own property, and just enjoyed that. Meanwhile, was on deployments, doing all this. In 2014, read a handful of books because I always had an interest in personal finance and building wealth, because I was never okay with having a financial joker broker, a salesman, or a financial planner hold and be completely in charge of my financial legacy and for my family. Never sat right with me. So I just knew I had to learn myself personal financial management. And I just kept seeing this pattern. The more I read, the more I said, real estate investing is how so many people get wealthy. Anybody could do real estate, and so the more I learned, the more inspired I got, the more confident I got off that deployment in late 2014. And so all I did was dove right into education, books, podcasts, seminars, meetups, spent a lot of money on coaching and mentorship and education, surrounded myself with like the local RIA, the Real Estate Investment Association, and different groups. And I just started taking action. And then eventually, I kind of learned all the different asset classes and strategies in real estate, single family, flips, wholesaling, creative financing, the BRRRR strategy, small multifamily. And I chose one when I realized I could own and control large multifamily apartment complexes, mobile home parks. Something attracted me to that idea. And I just didn't want to flip single family homes or own one door. It just didn't make sense. Too much risk, too much work for not enough cash flow and rewards. So I just was way more attracted and going straight for the bigger stuff. And I did. And that's kind of a little bit of my journey, but it was through reading books and just my curiosity in personal finance, which led me to real estate, man, while I was active duty.
That's crazy that you've been through all those niches in 5 years, right? You've been busy then, I'm guessing, right? Because 5 years
So
is,
no, like that was initially up front. That was my
oh,
education. So I
okay,
learned about wholesaling, learned
okay.
about flipping. Like I learned just a little bit about each one. And I didn't get traction because there was no clarity, no focus until I chose multifamily, went vertical, became really, really knowledgeable, well-versed in it, and confident enough to go have conversations with brokers and investors and partners. So yeah, I definitely didn't do any wholesale deals. I did the single family that I moved into that turned into a house hack, sold that. Then I bought a fourplex and I owned some other small multifamily, which are amazing assets for house hacking and even not. But then I went kind of straight to the large stuff. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, interesting. And you said you built a portfolio of 1,000 units while being active duty. How is that possible, man? Because
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
helped close, about 1,000 doors. I have ownership in probably a little bit over half of them, but
okay,
one of the biggest things I brought to the table was the ability to connect people and capital raise, and kind of just put the pieces together. So there were a handful of deals that I helped close, for the first few that I didn't actually get ownership in. I was able to just get a lot of cash, brought to the closing table that I don't have ownership in, but I helped close over 1,000 doors total that, I've worked in and accumulated for
that's
sure.
pretty. Yeah, but it's still really cool. Even if you take it half of that 500, it's a lot of doors. It's incredible. How did you first get started? Right, you researched all these different niches and you realize, okay, multifamily is what makes sense to me. That's where I want to be. How did you? Because it's not like buying. You bought a single family home, so you could do that, right? It's a lower barrier to entry than buying a 100-unit property. How did you first get started?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I was still at my last duty station about 5 years ago. I kind of like heard recently. That's when I first read about multifamily. I'm like, that's interesting. I want to learn more about it. Then I realized I can, and so that's what I focused on. And I didn't pay attention to any other books, podcasts, conferences, anything that had anything to do with the single family stuff. Really, I only paid attention to the multifamily stuff. So I was just able to learn enough to speak the language to other professionals in the industry. So then like I got orders to where I am now, like about 9 months beforehand. And the minute I got orders, the minute I knew I was going to end up here in Pensacola, I started reaching out to people and finding people who were already doing multifamily deals. And so like I just connected with them through various online platforms. And so like by the time I got there, I already had like an established, it wasn't like an established team to go take down a ton of deals, but I already had a bunch of partnership leads, like people who I was going to go have dinner with and meet up with because we were all military and we wanted to do the same things. And that's exactly what happened. I got there the very first month. I closed on a fourplex using a 203K FHA loan. But then 6 months later is when we closed our first apartment complex that we just syndicated using funds from the local RIA and our own funds. And we actually just went full cycle on that thing and sold it for a really, really nice, lucrative profit. But that's kind of how that happened. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. No, and because I think people starting now, it can be challenging, right? You don't know where to start, how to do it. But I think it's really interesting that you reached out to so many people and kind of set up stuff. So when you move there, you hit the ground running. But how were you reaching out? Because I think people can do this the right way and the wrong way, right? And I think it's important, and to reach out is good to start off with, but I think there's a way to do it in some extent, right? How were you doing it? How did you manage to get these people that are successful to sort of take the time out and spend time with you?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And something we talk about in, the active duty passive income community all the time is something called the success triangle. And if you're trying to be successful in business, real estate, whatever endeavor, there's like 3 pillars. It's the triangle of learn, network, and take action. Like, so you have to just learn, you have to have that education, and then you have to network. But what does that mean? That means having clarity on exactly what you want and telling as many people as you possibly can exactly what you want, but being interested in what they want and understanding like the big picture. Like, how do you get a deal done? How does someone close a 100-unit apartment complex with no experience, no money, no credit? Well, I figured out how to do that. And so I was like intentionally finding other people who are already doing it and who are looking for partners and specifically looking for things that I could bring to the table. So having self-awareness of that, not only, what you bring to the table, but knowing what else needs to be brought to the table to get a deal done. And then specifically reaching out and then being intentional on exactly who you're looking for, exactly what you can bring to the table, and like what if the vision is in the end goal. Because obviously when you're looking at partners, the key thing is to get to know them, like just be genuinely interested in what they have going on, because that's how you find the people that will fit the mold that will maybe be your partner. Right. And once like you find the people that say, hey, I'm also in multifamily, I'm also military, I'm the numbers guy. And so for me, that's like beep, 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 beep. For me, I'm not the numbers guy, right? I do everything else except for the numbers, right? I'm not the one that underwrites the deals and runs financial analysis on properties. But I knew that's what I needed. So that is the type of partner that I was looking for. Someone who's the left brain analytical person who actually could crunch numbers, right? And I knew numbers enough to like determine whether it's a good deal, but I don't get joy and fulfillment crunching numbers, putting it into a spreadsheet. That's just not how my brain works, right? So I had self-awareness. I knew exactly what it took to get the deal done. I knew exactly what I was able to bring to the table, and I knew exactly what else we needed brought to the table. And those are the people that I was specifically looking for. And those are the people that I've ended up always partnering with on large deals, are the highly analytical left brain people that we're morally aligned, we're ethically aligned, and we have very similar long-term goals.
That's incredible. If people don't learn anything else, they should learn that, right? It's just understanding, being self-aware, right? Like I'm like you, right? Spreadsheets and stuff like that, they give me a headache. I can kind of get by and kind of get through it because you've got to, right? But like if I was to go look for someone and say, hey, I can underwrite deals and I'm really good at underwriting, well, that wouldn't go too well, right? Okay, here's this deal, underwrite it, and I get it back and be like, what is this? It doesn't even make sense. You know what I mean? And then you'd be wasting their time, and you're falsifying, you're lying to yourself, and you're not creating genuine relationships. So you've got to be really self-aware. You've got to do that self-audit. What am I good at? What are my skill set? And so if that's my skill set, what do I need to find? Just like you said, be so intentional about this, right? Don't be disingenuous. Be very genuine about it when you're trying to create that relationship. But there's no point trying to find someone else like you because you just have a clone of yourself. And so I think that's huge, man.
I want to offer just one action step right now. Most people don't have self-awareness. So how could I get more self-awareness? Well, within 15 to 20 minutes, you could have a lot more self-awareness if you haven't done maybe really one main thing. And that's just go take a free personality assessment online. A couple that, off the top of my head that you can find free versions of: the Myers-Briggs test, right? And also the DISC profile, DISC. This is something in our multifamily academy all of our members go through to determine what they maybe could bring to the table based on what they're already good at, like what they know, how their brain is wired, the things that motivate them and things that don't motivate them. Having that awareness is going to help you bring more to the table and more value and more of your authentic self to a partnership. And we all know the more value you bring to others, the more you'll receive in abundance and income, right? So that's why you have to add as much value as you possibly can to other people and those that you surround yourself with. And so that's how you could also learn how to build wealth. That's just an abundance mindset. But yeah, DISC profile, DISC or Myers-Briggs, go take those tests. You'll probably learn a few things about yourself, and that's going to help you level up.
That's huge, yeah. Because not only in terms of partnership, in terms of how you operate in business and in life, right? It can help you so much, right? If you understand who you are as a person, right? You're wired a certain way, right? Well, then you can kind of hack your life to help that, right? If you have trouble focusing, you're going to have to hack a way to help yourself focus, right? Or if you spend too much time on something, you've got to hack a way to find a way to not spend so much time. It's important, so important. I say this all the time. It's so important to understand who you are, because every single one of us is different, and there's not a set answer for hardly any of us, right? You've just got to understand who you are and figure it out from there. So going back to that first deal that you did, what size, the first syndication that you did, what size deal was it? How did you find it? How did you finance it? Tell us all the good stuff about that one, because the first deal is huge, right? The first syndication deal is huge.
No, it was 100%. Like I told you, I moved to Pensacola that month because I had already established enough people to help me close a fourplex. Like that month I moved here, we closed on a 4-unit property with the intentions of house hacking. And then 6 months later, we bought a 42-unit property. And like that was the very first apartment complex that we bought and that we had just sold. So how did I find it? I found it through a broker who was in that area, who was a part of the Real Estate Investment Association, the RIA, so immediately moved there. That same week, joined the local Real Estate Investment Association. The broker there was a number of brokers in that, and because what I did the minute I got there and the minute I joined the RIA, I think what was a huge benefit was that the president of the RIA allowed anybody, every meeting once a month, they allowed anybody to go up to the room and give a 30-second elevator pitch or commercial every single time, right? So I'm like, this is my opportunity to just promote who I am, what I do. Like, for whatever reason, I'm like, that made sense to me. Like, if I'm not telling people what I got going on, there's going to be no way that they're going to know who I am, and I'm not going to get business, right? So like, I was just very clear on at that point, like a year before that, I made the decision that I was going to be investing specifically in multifamily property. So on a monthly basis, didn't matter who was in the room, didn't matter how I felt, didn't matter, the outside environment or the other, what else was going on. I went up there and straight up just gave them my elevator pitch every single time. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is what I offer to people. And this is what I'm looking for. And like every single time I will go to the back of the room after we're done, and people would come up, be like, hey, I'm also looking at multifamily. Hey, I know a guy who's trying to, invest $250K in a syndication. You seem like you know what you're doing. I want to connect you guys. Like, it's just the sole fact that I let people know who I was, what I was up to, what I actually brought to the table, and then what I was looking for. And if you could construct a 15 to 20 second, what I called elevator pitch, elevator speech, when what it is a hook to get people interested, not to go against their own will, but if people are interested, they're going to want to come learn more. Right. So that's how you find people. And I really want to drive it home. One of my mentors told me a long time ago, success in this business is a little bit about what you know, right? It's way more about who you know, but it's most about who knows you. So if you don't go out there and let people know who you are, what you do, what you can offer, and what you're looking for, people aren't going to be able to do business with you. And social media today makes that pretty easy. All you got to do is post on Facebook, on the Instagram, on the LinkedIn, on whatever platform you're on, dude. Just let people know consistently who you are, what you do, what you're looking for, and exactly what you could bring to the table. And inevitably, you're going to have opportunities come your way. You know, as long as you have faith that what you're doing is right, ethical, moral, that's what you want, you're committed to it. So that's how I found the deal. And again, in that same RIA, that's where we raised most of the capital. We had, it was actually 4 general partners that came together to do this deal. We all brought our own cash. We all brought our own knowledge and experience, and we all were able to raise the capital that was needed to get the deal done. Yeah, man. Did I answer all that?
Yeah. But tell us about the deal itself. So what was so good about the deal that you guys wanted to go after?
42 units just north of where we live. It's in a city called Citronelle, Alabama. So it's a little north of Mobile, Alabama, which is right on in the area. I mean, there's a lot happening in Mobile and the secondary and tertiary markets in Mobile. It's like the #1 import and export location in the whole Gulf, actually, is Mobile, Alabama. So there's a lot happening, a lot of jobs, a lot of different industries, military, government, schools, tech, like all that is right there in Mobile. So, and that was the close for us. I wanted to be in driving distance to my first deal. Right. So it was a very distressed probably C, maybe C- property in like a B+ B neighborhood. Right. So it was a decent neighborhood. A brand new high school was built right next to it, but there was a lot of deferred maintenance. The manager, he owned it his whole life. He was like almost in his 80s. There was a stack of maintenance calls and maintenance requests sitting in the office. He was, like I said, he was self-managing, doing most of the work, had like one guy cut the grass. So huge opportunities, right, to increase the value through decrease in expenses and increase in income by forcing appreciation through improving the units and getting the rents up and charging the right fees, really just managing it properly, right? So there was a ton of opportunities there, and so that's kind of why we jumped on it. It was just a typical syndication, of Reg D 506B syndication, where we raise our capital most through friends and family, which are also known as non-accredited or sophisticated investors, people we already had a pre-existing relationship with. Now, there were some accredited investors included in that as well, but I mean, that's it. It was a lot of work, a lot of lessons learned. Had to fire a couple contractors, had to fire a couple property managers, stumbled through it. Didn't actually pay our investors anything until we sold it, which was almost 3 years later. And yes, but they all ended up getting like triple-digit returns on their initial investment because we just ended up getting through it. So yeah, that was my first deal.
How was that the intention going into it, that everyone would get paid on the back end, or was there supposed to be distributions along the way?
Definitely supposed to be distributions after year 2. Because we also had interest only debt for 24 months to force all the appreciation, fix everything, replace a lot of the infrastructure, the utilities, like the major appliances, and new parking lot, dog park, completely new roofs. Literally half the units were down. So it was a lot of work. And then the goal was to easily, by that point, refinance, after year 2 and start cash flowing, pay investors back. And we didn't hit that mark. So we had to continue explaining what we were going on. We had to inject as a team more capital into the deal without doing a capital call to the investors. And we kind of just worked through it, and the people that were loyal, and nobody ended up backing out or anything. They all ended up getting really, really good returns. And they had to wait a long time for it, but at the same time, we rewarded them for, sticking around and being able to, continue working with us.
Yeah, that's cool. And I'm guessing it was just a continuous communication with them. That's how you guys kept them happy, right? As long as they understood to some extent what was happening. Of course, they would rather distributions, but I think with investors, a lot of times, as long as they understand the situation and what's going on, they're not ridiculous, in terms of the demands, in terms of what they expect, right? They, and as long as they see the project going in the right direction, I'm sure that helped as well.
Yeah, no, that's such a good point. You're exactly right. I would never say as a blanket statement, all the investors are pretty cool, laid back, like understanding. Very general. That is a general. I agree. Most investors that I've dealt with are pretty understanding. But that's because we're continuously communicating with them, updating them, at least minimum monthly basis. Everybody will get an email, the good, the bad, future plans, something very basic. And then we started just doing quick little YouTube videos, from the GP team. We would send them the videos of us speaking and letting them know really what was going on. So a minimum, you needed a monthly email to keep them posted. So they were always in tune with what was going on. Half the people never even opened the email. Some of them, the ones that did, cool. Like they never were concerned. They never showed their concern really about it. Even they just trusted us. They had faith in the team and they trusted us to take care of them and be good stewards of their capital. And we delivered.
Yeah, very cool. So then from there, just on a high level, you got to a lot of units pretty quickly, right? In your time. How demanding, because obviously the time is probably what people are thinking, right? How can you be active duty and be doing all this stuff, right? But how time demanding is it with these kind of projects?
So I kind of early on learned something about myself. I learned something about myself. At least I try to learn something about myself every day. But in this industry, I learned that I don't like managing properties or managing tenants. So I work with people who are really good at that. So I don't have to do it because I don't want to do it. So I was always on the acquisition side of the deal, not the operation side of the deal, if that makes sense. You know, when you're closing a deal, there's requirements that need you to acquire the property, find, underwrite, raise capital, due diligence, guarantor, all the things to close. Then the operators take over, like the asset managers, property managers, and the like. I never wanted to be on the asset management team or property management team, so I always stayed on the acquisition side, and I did everything on the acquisition side except for underwriting. So I never really had any obligations. Once we closed, it was like, all right, guys, you got it from here, but I'm still an owner, receiving distributions, receiving, K1 income and cash flow from the properties, but I don't honestly have any other involvement other than when there's either a capital call, there's some severe issues, or when there's a reposition and decisions need to be made that I need to vote on.
Yeah. So for people that trying to understand, essentially you have someone in your team that does the asset management, right? You hire a property management company and some other people are part of the GP. That's their specialty. They do the asset management side. They maybe not as involved on the acquisition side. And that's the beautiful thing about a team, right? You can do what you like and the parts that you're good at and let someone else take over the other parts, right? As you mentioned earlier.
Totally, dude. And like, man, I wish my first deal was bigger than that.
Right.
I mean, you go back, obviously more, you think, well, obviously more money, but that's one of my only, I don't regret anything, but if I went back, I would have done a larger deal because it would have been less work. And here's the reason why, because 42 units, even in Mobile, Alabama, we could not pay a full-time property manager to handle everything for us. We had to get really creative with how we were going to manage the property. We had to do like a hybrid of, the on-site property manager was only be able to work part-time. Usually when you hire a part-time manager, that's their effort level too. It's a part-time effort, right? Mm-hmm. So we had to go in there. We had to go to the property more than we wanted to. We had to kind of figure things out and make sure, like, how are we going to be able to manage this property with the low revenue that we have? So again, it just took more work. If it was 80 units or 100 units in the same market, it would have been less work because we would have had a full-time property management team that had vendors, general contractors, handymen, everybody to handle everything for us and make it even more passive. And so since then, I've only done the larger deals where we have a very good third-party property management team holding it down for us, providing us monthly statements, and looping us in things that we absolutely need to know about, which is usually, my rule of thumb is fire, flood, or blood, right? Any of that happens at the properties, I should probably know about it. And everything else they handle, so.
Yeah, and it's true, right? People don't understand always that the bigger you go, the easier it is to some extent, right? To some extent, there's still some complications and stuff like that, but you pointed out some good reasons why going bigger is better. What's the biggest deal you've done so far then?
364. Okay. stores. Yeah, that was something I just helped raise a bunch of capital for. And that was cool. That was enjoyable, a lesson learned. And I've never seen the property. It's in Texas. There was another one just like that I did, about 250 units and just outside of Atlanta. Um, help raise a bunch of capital for that one. And yeah.
How are you raising capital? Because capital raising is a skill, right? It's something that is very invaluable, right? And it's gotten easier, I'm sure, these days because there's more money floating around. But it's still definitely a very valuable skill that not everybody have. So that's cool that you have that. What is your approach to capital raising?
Yeah, man. I mean, I honestly, like, I just started raising capital and I didn't read any books about it. I didn't take any courses on like specifically raising capital. I kind of just naturally gravitated to that. And again, for anybody that's listening, you sometimes won't have the self-awareness of how do I fit into this deal until you go do one. And then you're going to see like, okay, well, who are the other people on my team? What are they going to take? What else needs to get done? Like, how could I add value to this? Oh, we have to raise, 350K. I'm like, I could probably do that. And so like, because I was already, and I was new in the market too. I didn't have any deals done, but I was able to raise a bunch of capital for that first deal. And then I was able to just kind of get into a rhythm and create my own small little systems to just be able to raise a bunch of capital, build an investor database. I just kept track of everybody. Ultimately there's so much money out there, like kind of like you just said, that is sitting on the sidelines in checking accounts, savings accounts, CDs, IRAs, brokerage accounts, whatever. So much cash. And the people who have this cash, a lot of those people want to invest in real estate because they know income producing assets is what builds wealth, right? But they don't have time, don't have knowledge, can't, other obligations, whatever it is. They just come up with excuses, but that's cool because people like us are willing to put these deals together and then find them and offer them an opportunity. And I want to highlight something there. That's a paradigm shift where I was able to raise a lot more capital. I'm not going in it like, oh, I need to raise capital. I need to ask for money, but that's not what it is. Like, get that burden off your shoulders, because all you're really doing is you have this deal, and you're presenting a very, very good investment opportunity to people who want a very good investment opportunity. So you're actually doing some good value. You're helping people, right? So take that burden off your shoulders. Like, oh, I need to call someone and ask them for money. That's the wrong approach, I think. And that's what I learned. And that's how I approach it is, look, I just have to find people that I'm not going to call them or talk to them unless I know they have an interest level in, at least in real estate, if not this asset class. Right. And so if you only talk to people who already meet certain criteria, you're going to have a more likelihood of their having a very high interest level. But then you have to demonstrate that obviously they're investing not only in the deal, but they're actually mostly investing in you, right? As a deal sponsor, as an investor. So there's a lot of things to navigate through there, and if I could do it, anybody could do it. You know what I'm saying? But that is just one of the things I was able to bring to the table, and I was able to navigate through, and I love teaching it. I love sharing with it because it's again, few small mindset kind of ideas and concepts that if you like kind of latch onto, you could probably go raise millions of dollars of capital too.
Yeah, very true. What's next for you, man? You've done a lot, but what's next for you think?
So probably the thing a couple things I'm very excited about, but with active duty passive income, the whole goal, my purpose in active duty passive income is to get as many of those members as I possibly can to close their next multifamily deal. And there's over 100 members right now in our mastermind. It's constantly growing. Most of them are active duty. Some of them are veterans. My purpose in life in terms of ADPI is to help them as many of them as close their next deal. The goal for this year was 2025. personally, a lot of cool things. I recently just became a certified high performance coach. So I love coaching people as a group, and I love coaching people one-on-one. That's just something I've actually been doing on the side, outside of active duty passive income, outside of the Navy, ever since I kind of got into real estate and found a little bit of traction, found a little bit of success. I just want to share that with other people and help spread awareness, especially to military members. So super excited about that. And, you know, my, just the journey that I'm on with my wife, we're our journey with God, and we're traveling a lot, and super excited about a lot of stuff. But yeah, man, I can go on. I'm just so joyful and fulfilled and blessed with just everything that's happening right now. So there's a lot of cool stuff. Plus we're buying deals. I'm flying to Indianapolis next week to go look at three of our deals that we got there, and go hopefully scoop up some more. So we're constantly buying assets, man, and just showing our military community exactly how it's done, and that they need to own assets in the country that they fight for.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. Well, as this show is called Wrestling with Real Estate, I like to incorporate some wrestling-related real estate questions. So the first one is, what would your wrestling name be?
I know it took me some time to come up with this, because I was a fan of wrestling, when the Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, the Bushwhackers, like all of them, they were super awesome to watch when I was growing up. So it was hard for me to think of like a name that compared to them, but I came up with High Energy Hound Dog.
That's good. That's one of the better ones than that, definitely. High Energy Hound Dog. I like that a lot.
Yep.
So High Energy Hound Dog, what is your special move in real estate? Because every wrestler has a special move, right?
Yeah. Honestly, I would have to say either raising capital, or just the ability to implement with speed and hold people accountable. So I know that's not kind of two separate things, and I'm sorry you probably only asked for one, but
no, that's good.
We already talked about raising capital, and you guys already know that, so I wanted to throw another one in there. It's just my ability to have that high energy and work as a high performer across the board, and just hold people accountable in my team, and work with them, and just kind of be a team player and help everybody get to the finish line.
Nice. What's been the biggest body slam you've taken in your investing career?
Probably that first deal, man. I mean, that we kind of worked through. I said there was a lot of issues. We couldn't pay our investors for like that whole 3 years. Finally, we paid them a lot, but there was a couple times where we thought we were just going to cut our losses back out of that deal, dude. But the biggest thing was, before the first year was up, our first property manager completely just did not hold their end of the bargain. So we had to fire them. And so without a plan, we kind of just had to scavenge around, and luckily we made really, really good rapport with City Hall, which is, I highly recommend anytime you do due diligence, go make friends with City Hall, the city inspector, economic development, planning and zoning. And because they're going to need you eventually, and you're going to need them eventually, right? So make that relationship up front, let them know who you are, what your plans are. And because we did that, we were able to find actually a licensed real estate agent and property manager that worked in the economic development office of the city in which we bought the property. So, and she was just a sweet Southern chick, she was super awesome. And she ended up managing the property for us throughout the rest of the time that we owned it. But yeah, that was probably the biggest body slam, like biggest kick to the nuts, dude, was our first property manager that we fully trusted, fully vetted, believed them, had faith in them, and they just let us down. And we just had to fire them. But it's part of the process in real estate, man. It's going to happen over and over. And you got to understand, you got to sometimes go through a bunch of property managers or a bunch of brokers or a bunch of passive investors until you find the ones that really click, that you have that kind of chemistry at. And the whole goal is always a long-term partnership, not just I want to do this deal with you and that's it. Like, look to make those long-term partnerships. And so that will happen less and less, over the more you do it. You won't have to sort through all these people in order to find the winner. Right.
Yeah. So was there a moment that you were standing on the top rope getting ready to jump, but you were too scared? What was it, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah. I mean, it was probably going from, 4 units to 42 units in the matter of 6 months without any other experience. And I kind of just, I was scared, but at the same time, like I had faith and I believed that I was able to do it to some level. But like that fear just encouraged me to continue educating myself because it's all about your education, and so when I was standing on top and, I was standing up in front of the RIA and I was letting people know what I was doing and I was trying to figure out how to raise capital and find brokers and find deal flow and put a deal package together and pitch it. Like I just knew in the back of my head, look, you continue educating yourself. You got this, you know, you know, but that was probably like one of the biggest, moments was that. And then because of that deal, I was, fortunately able to get interviewed on the Bigger Pockets podcast, which is a big real estate podcast. And that was another huge thing. And me and my partner, we both took a shot or two before the podcast just to calm our nerves a little bit and relax. And it was awesome. But again, 2 more examples and you only asked for one. But sorry, man.
No, that's awesome. It's better more examples than not enough, right? But that's cool. That's cool. That's awesome, man. Well, man, hey, thank you for making the time. This has been fun. There's no doubt you live up to your wrestling name, High Energy Hound. There's no doubt about that. But so much great information, man, and you're just killing it. There's no doubt about that. So I appreciate you taking time out of your very busy day to be on the show. But before we go, can you let people know where they can find you, how they can get in touch, what kind of stuff you have to offer, all that, everything you have to plug? Please plug it, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, most of my time is spent in the active duty passive income community. I'm running this amazing mastermind. So Facebook, on Facebook, usually in the groups and stuff is Tim Kelly, but I spend a little bit more time on LinkedIn at the Timothy Kelly, and I spend a little bit more time on Instagram at the Timothy Kelly. So message me there. But would probably be easier if this resonated with you and you want to like learn more. I want to get on a call with you to see how I could help you. Just so all you need to do is shoot me a text and we'll get on a call. And you can text me at 847-910-9161. Let me know that you heard me on the Wrestling with Real Estate podcast. And dude, we'll just hop on a call, and if I could add value to you, I'd be happy to.
Awesome. Well, have an awesome rest of your day there in Pensacola. I'm jealous that you're right by the beach, but good talking to you, man.
All right, brother. Have a great weekend, man. Take care.
Thank you.